hear me fine and see me fine?
I can hear you fine and see you fine, Hawwa. And hopefully everybody at the Elephant and Castle community can see us now because we're live. And everybody joining us once again is Hawwa Power, who is a life coach, a creative, a wellness facilitator, and someone who's actually saving my skin right now by sending me some tea that's full of iron because I'm anemic because of a surgery that I had and I lost a lot of blood. So she's actually my medicine provider.
Oh, Power medicine woman.
Medicine woman, yeah, someone who I've known for a couple of years and I look up to and I respect, and I'm so grateful that you could join us here today. So Hawwa, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome, Nick. That is very, very beautiful introduction. Thank you very much indeed. I'm laughing to all of those people who oh gosh, what was the show called? Oh, I've forgotten. It's escaped me. Sorry, I'm showing my age now.
About it.
I'm glad that you're doing well, Nick, and that you received the tea. It was just a quick iron boosting combo. I definitely have had issues with anemia over the years, and so being able to use herbal teas and tinctures to assist and help and resolve that have been a wonder to me, and a great support. So I hope it works for you well.
I thank you. I appreciate it. And I got to use this this neat teapot that I actually got my partner a couple of years ago at Christmas time, and it's just been sitting on my shelf. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is a perfect opportunity to be able to use it. So it's really kind of honoring a lot of things in my flat right now. But really, and also I want to, like, when I drink it, it feels nice. You know, it feels almost like, you know, this is something that, like, you know, I know that they can give you okay, so basically, I know you know, but I had hip replacement surgery 5 weeks ago today, and I had a lot of blood loss during the surgery, and I went, my EB levels, HB levels, hematoma levels, went from 155 down to about an 85. So I became very anemic, and they had to give me a blood transfusion, which my body didn't like. I can remember the feelings. And I also had to have iron injections, which my body didn't like. I had sweats. I had, you know, it was just, it was needed, but it just didn't agree with me. And now I'm having this, which I know is like it's got dandelion. I should really read the instructions. They're just over there. I don't want to go get them, but it's an iron-rich tea.
Yes.
Just feels nice. It feels, and apart from this warm tea, it just feels really soothing, and you know, like this kind of, and I know we just briefly kind of talked about this connection with earth and the things that earth can provide us, but it just feels like I'm doing my body's appreciating it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I drink a lot of tea over here. And anybody who comes, I'm literally like, what would you like to drink? What have you got going on? You know, whether it's a digestive thing or, you know, an iron enriching thing. And I think, as you were saying when we spoke, that you could feel, you know, just that fatigue, the tiredness, you know, lots of yawning, you know, feeling
irritability.
Yeah. And and isn't it interesting that all of those things, we could say there's so many people who are iron deficient. And I think all of those things, you know, if someone's irritable, we just think, oh, I'm just complaining, or I feel irritable, not that there's an imbalance or something that needs topping up. And so when you say that, you know, it just feels good, I know, because I enjoy yesterday evening when I got back. I had something from a takeaway spot. I went to the theatre with a friend, so I just grabbed something, and I knew, you know, my digestive system, I think as you get older, you have a better relationship, and it was kind of like, sorry, what is this that you're giving me? So when I got home, I had a combination of, you know, sort of good, soothing, digestive herbs, and I just felt good going to bed, and I knew that by the morning, we'll be able to purge things in a very nice, gentle way.
Nice.
So, dandelion is a huge one. And I was going to say, you know, the other thing with dandelion is that it is good for your liver. So to make sure that you are hydrating as well as drinking it. 3 cups a day should be sufficient. It's heavy with nettle. I love nettle tea. I mean, I think that one of the things that I look at when I'm making a combination for myself or someone else is that what I like is, like with violets, it turns it blue. I love that. That it's so dark, it feels rich already, and it has mugwort in it as well. I think I put a bit of mugwort in it, and I put some tulsi in there. And tulsi is really warming, holy basil, and I just thought, well, just keep those blood vessels open, and just so that it's able to flow. So there's a lot of things that I think, as well as knowing, sorry, slight tangent, that it is a case of tuning in. We know what feels good and what's good to us. And I feel that for myself with herbs, there is some intuitive conversation happening as well. It's not just, I know this, I've learned this will be good for this. And this is what it says here, so that's what I'll put. I'm also, sort of connecting to something that isn't tangible, that supports the making of the tea, which hopefully translate as, the feeling good, because it feels good to make it too. I've been so busy with other creative and educational things, I haven't had much time. So it was actually a pleasure to put some tea together for you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I feel the love in it. I think that's it. I feel that you actually, you went out of your way to do this for me, and I'm really, really grateful. So thank you. How you said that you had a busy weekend. I want to get into your busy weekend, but I also, you speaking how you've learned intuitively about, you putting together, this mixtures of teas for me, but how you got from where you started to where you are now. But let's get the weekend out of the way. What was your weekend like? And we can kind of get people knowing more about what you do.
My weekend was great. I spent Saturday with family, which, tried to do, hung out with my sister, and Sunday was lovely. I did yoga I'm fortunate to live around a lot of green as well as have a garden. So I did a bit of yoga in the park, went for a bike ride, came back, jumped on my trampoline, and then got ready to go to the theatre.
What did you do?
A madhouse. It's excellent. It's at the Ambassador, and it has a wonderful cast, and Bill Pullman is one of the stars of the show, as well as my friend Akia Henry, who is just absolutely resplendent in her role there. And I recommend it, so go see. It's a great play. It's one of those ones that you will have conversations about afterwards. Moving, entertaining, great set. I love detail, and I'm a visual person as well as other things, but I'm just to take in just all the small detail that goes into a set. Oh, I love it. I was fortunate enough to do, in my capacity as conduit, to do a set design for a stage play, and so costume and set actually. So it's very exciting, fun stuff. It was a great way to express another string on my heart.
The last show that I saw was Lion King.
It's so wonderful, isn't it?
Oh, even
they're just wanting to leap and sing. It's so beautiful, so well done. And they worked so hard on it. And I was fortunate enough, little side note, my friend was working the stage door, so she got me in, and I got to go to the back and see all the puppetry. So just really amazing. It is fantastic.
It's it is fantastic. Like I noticed, like it is the little things that you notice. Like there's the bit in the Lion King where the lake shrinks. And you're like, what? I'm watching a lake shrink on stage. I don't want to give anything away to anybody. The visuals, the like you say, the puppetry and everything, and the songs. I mean, and what it all stands for, the meanings behind it all. It's a beautiful thing. I think This is another thing too, how that I suppose we can get into is creativity, because you are a creative. And I think it's the thing that you say first in your bio is that you're a creative. So can you explain a little bit to people about, how you've become from a creative to, like I say, the lineage and the learnings, to help out people behind stage with that creative output, but also to, to create tea for people. It's kind of a different, an interesting journey I'd like people to know about.
Well, interestingly enough, I think that, I'll just start by saying, job titles have always been a funny thing for me. I've had many jobs and been many things in previous lifetimes, housing officers, etc. But I would describe, I actually changed recently my status because I was speaking to a friend's partner, and I'd always thought of myself, once I heard the word, as a conduit. And I always thought, yeah, but then people are going to be like, what is that? How does that sort of describe? And but then, hey, it's a conversational piece. And the reason why I mention the fact that my role or my job description would be conduit, especially in a creative capacity, is because of conduit being, let me just inform that, conduit being an expression for a vessel for the expression of whatever life would like to experience. That's ultimately what we're all doing here in its true essence and form. But I think that for me, in my work, in my workings, in my delight, in my desire, in my purpose, in the things that I feel drawn to, in the things that I have gifts and talent in, very much like a conduit, definitely a creative conduit. How that translates to, there's definitely the part of me that very much, I take, that is very much of my mother, which is this great and huge concern. My name is Hawwa. Hawwa means mother of all mankind. So this thing of taking care and being able to, a friend of mine said, I can see it. The moment something, you're literally like, what would they possibly need? But it's more like, what would they possibly need? It's more here than here. And I think it's not to fix or anyone, but I want to help. Creatively, people can be enlivened or inspired by a piece of work, of writing something they see. I think it's wonderful. I'm doing a film with a group of young people in Haringey, and it's around the whole child queue situation. It's their response to that. It's incredible. That's one creative expression, facilitation, that I love, because there's a lot of healing and catharsis for those young people who are completely let down by the system and the setup. And so being able to give them a platform for their voices is incredibly important. That's one way of assisting and helping. And also I'm very passionate about them knowing just how absolutely wonderful and amazing they are. And, this is, and I say this in inverted commas, a people referral unit, but I refer to it as a place that school can't hold those particular children, because they're standalone experience, but they're also their brilliance, because they're all brilliant. Genuinely, it's going to be a great piece. As well as, tea. One of my friends, my creative partner, recently came to visit me. She was like, oh, I feel like I'm coming down with something. I don't feel so good. And I was like, well, you came to the right place, an opportunity for me to really just extend my joy and love for wellness and for herbs and, just what nature has to offer, that everything is here. And so I made her a tea. I gave her some of my favorite wellness formula, my favorite multivitamins. And I gave her instructions when she went home. And the next day she messaged me, and, she's not easily, how should I say, she's not easily impressed. And she was like, Howard, I feel great, whatever that is. And it's not about me. It's just about, again, that willingness from a very authentic place to assist, and then the joy and excitement that I have for the herbs and for, you know, that wellness. Sometimes it is just taking care. It might just be kind words that someone needs. They might need herbs. They might need kind words. They might need a beautiful visual. And I like to do as much of, I'm very much, a friend said that Howard gives as good as she gets. So I like to do that for myself. And if I'm doing it for myself, then I feel that it's working for me. Of course, I must share it with others. Of course, I must. Storytelling is a big part of what I'm doing. I've just completed with my creative partner creation stories from all around the world, which, you know, will inspire, entertain, inform, delight a whole audience very soon of young people. It's due to go out on radio station. I'm going to send you a link to it. That's really terrible. Fun Kids, there you go. Fun Kids Radio. So it's about to premiere on there quite soon. And that's using my skills as a writer, as a voice actor, direction, you know, casting. I'm very fortunate to have lots of creative friends who are so greatly talented, who once I was like, look, I have this project, I'd love you to be on it. They were like, yes. And so that's a great gift. And then being able to share what I found in those stories. These are all these stories also relate to nature, to the nature of us, but to how things came to be. And our connection to all of these indigenous tribal first stories always involve nature so supremely, but then also our relationship to nature and to plants. So again, I get that bit for me, and then I get to share as well. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think that in essence, whatever arises for me and before me that I feel that I connect to and that delights me, and there's an area or part of or aspect of me that has a gift, skill or talent there, then I want to use it.
Yeah. You said so much that I know this 45 minutes could actually spread into 3 hours quite easily for us.
Oh, don't. You don't have a problem talking here.
Oh, do you know, I love listening to you because you know, everything resonates with where I am right now in terms of 5 weeks ago when I listen to you speak, I listen to someone who is in the process of and of letting go, of not living in here, but living in here, and living a world of being directed rather than being the director. Someone who is a conduit, a channel of universal infinitism rather than finite individualism. And I'm in the process of learning all of that. I have been for 6 years since I decided to let go and pursue a path of trying to help others rather than help myself. But I'm still young. I'm 6 years into this, Hawwa. And then when things are beautiful, it's like I'm in a plane. This is what my mentor taught me the other day, because I was really holding on to a lot of fear and anxiety and resentment in the last 5 weeks, things that have challenged me. Before those 5 weeks, it was like I was flying in an airplane in the like co-pilot position with my feet up, coffee, looking at the sky, and the universe has got the stick. The universe or God or source or creator, not me, has got the stick, and it's like we're cruising along and things are beautiful. All of a sudden I see a few clouds out there and a few bits of lightning and I can rumble of thunder, and I sit up and I put my coffee down and I'm like, oh, you know, maybe I should take control here, you know? And so I'm still very quick into like not trusting the universe enough. So I have to grab the stick. I go into ego. I go into self-management. I go into self-will. And it's sleepless nights. It's this person's done this to me. This person has hurt me. and it's resentment and fear and anxiety, until I have a mentor to go, Nick, you're where you're meant to be. You felt what you meant to felt. Now let go again. And you go through the process of saying, oh, and it's really easy. It's, hey, I don't want to be in control. I want to be guided. I want to be of service. I want to help others. I want to be that conduit, as you talk about, where it's just nothing to hear, just hear of energy, and things have just gone so much better in the last few days, just because of those things of letting go. So where am I going with that? In that, I suppose we live in a world that wants us to live in ego of, I've got this. It was my idea first, not your idea. So I need the bonus. I need to be paid. I need to be recognized for coming up with that idea. And it brought me back, as you were speaking, it brought me back to a story where I went to an old friend's branding company, very successful branding company. And they had all their ideas on the wall, and it was like an open house. And I said to his name is Ben. I said, Ben, what happens if someone steals one of your ideas? And he went, they're not mine. He goes, someone needs to steal an idea. They need it more than I do. It's a collective of thoughts and creative, where we've all come up with these things together. No one owns any of it, and I think that really resonated with me, in that we're not owners of ideas. We're just the conduits where these things have come to. And I think that's a reduction of ego, which is somewhere where I'm always aspiring to be. So how have you gotten to where you are? Like where did Hawwa start off with this of going, I am not going to be, I suppose you don't choose to say I'm going to be a conduit. You're guided through this over a process. Like I say, for me, I'm in this about 6 years. I'm interested to know how you kind of came through this process to get to where you are now.
Wow, about 8:30 this morning. Let's be very, very clear, is that if there's one thing that I know, is that this is ongoing. Okay, don't let us not feel that at any point there's a bit, the periods get longer, as Ellen Caddy says, the dark nights of the soul, or the confusion, they get shorter. And I think that's what I would say. Some mornings are better than others, but the work has to be done from beginning the slumber to then waking up. So that's why I say, like, about 8:30 this morning, it was like, okay, yeah, good now. What I think it's really important, because I think with all of this stuff that we're talking about, and I'll talk about the collective in a minute, I'm looking at my bookshelf of books, and I was speaking with some friends on Friday night, and in terms of, I feel like I've always known I was a conduit, because I've always just done what feels, and then I've had those things where I'm like, I want to do that, and then I've said it and felt it, and it's all connected, and I've done it, and I've had that experience. So just being in the flow, and I'll speak to trust and faith in a moment, but this is an ongoing, everyday thing. Let me show you my paraphernalia that I've got in here to get me on track every day. And it's, I'm a big dream journaler. There was so much in last night and this morning's dream that I just settled on what was the feeling, because I couldn't sustain it to write it all down. So to speak to that question of, like, even when, ongoing, my diary, this is my diary, and it says, sorry, can you see that?
Lower it. Each morning we are born again. What we do today is what matters most. Buddha. And
my thing is, because this is what my statement is, that we can always begin again. Find a Monday, a new moon, a Sunday night, whatever. We're on a journey of learning. We're rediscovering, uncovering ourselves. And when you say, like, of the letting go, that there is that in that Buddhist practice of, it's letting go in every moment, in every single moment. And there'll be times like a dog with a bone, where you're holding on to that thing, and I don't know why she did, and I wish I'd said that, because and I don't know why people. And sometimes if you can be conscious, there's sometimes I'm conscious of it. I'm like, all right, 5 minutes of that, and then I'll be like, anyway, and then and have a good old chat with myself, and then this first, I'm moving on to something else. Yeah. A wonderful African proverb Oh God. I feel like a sim brain this morning. I've done too much this weekend. That I will remember to share with you that is very much around that. This idea that we, even this thing of we're still trying to get somewhere, there's still like, and then finally my ego will be on a leash and I will be able to, so it's like, no, sometimes I also think that, it needs a little workout. And this is what consciousness and awareness is, because then if I'm gonna, my ego needs a little, there's something I need to express in order for my ego to not, take it too far, then let me have that moment. And that's what consciousness and awareness is about. But for me, it isn't every moment letting go, having the awareness that, oh, something's afoot, or am I not seeing the entirety in this? Am I not seeing the other side? Am I creating a bad other? Have I created a story about this? We love to create stories about people. Because most of the time, like Voltaire says, hell is other people. So, usually that's where a lot of our struggles are connected to ourselves through other people, as Jung says, that which I cannot stand in another, paraphrasing, is something that I fail to see within myself. So always having that question, and that comes to the collective aspect that we're all, human beings want to be seen, heard, and understood.
Yeah.
And that we all have in common. The way that we express things through what we've experienced, what stories we have, what story we're living out. In that great Toltec teaching, in the 4 agreements, don't take it personally. There's some things I understand, they're way heavy. For myself, I've not experienced anything from externally that isn't connected to something from the past. So that always makes me have to realize, oh, you still haven't let go of that bit. You still, oh yeah, look, there's still a little bit of unworthiness, not enoughness, Davory there. Oh, I didn't realize I hadn't quite tidied that up yet. And so then we can tidy that along. It's a daily practice. The guest house, Jalaluddin Rumi, if I haven't said it already, again, giving compassion to oneself and understanding that there'll be a morning where, I'm on a grief journey here. We don't know who's turning up at the door. It could be a flurry of tears. It could be, moody blues. It could be hyper excitement, but whoever comes to be able to sit with that. I think that one of our things is we don't want to sit with things. We don't want to sit with a feeling. And like your mentor said, it's okay. You felt it. If is there any, just making that inquiry, is this like something I've experienced before? So is it truly something external? Is this something I'm holding that's being highlighted so that I can let go of it?
Yeah. Well, I definitely think that there's, like you say, it's a continual work practice. And I know the things that I like to hold on to, even though every day I ask the universe to take them away from me, these things that are blocking me. But yet when it gets convenient to act or say or behave in a certain way that serves me, oh, I'm going to take that little thing that I think is objectionable, but I'm going to use it to my advantage here. And like you say, I think this is a continual part of our journey while we're here. I don't think it ever ends. I think that this is why we are here, is to have these challenges and to work these processes out so that we can work through them and help others work through them, because the challenges are always going to be present. And it makes me think about kind of how what we said at the beginning of this conversation of like, how have we evolved over the last 10 or 20,000 years in the species that we're in, where, even science says our brains love to be challenged. There was a neuroscientist in the 60s, I think, and it was at a time where you could hook up electrodes to someone's brain, probably not the most nice way to do tests now. But the brain was stimulated with, images of like puppies and sex and food. And then like presented with puzzles and challenges, and the whole brain lit up when it was given a puzzle or a challenge. And it's like, well, it makes sense that we find joy in challenges, because that's how we evolved. That's how we figured to get the fruit, to kill the wildebeest, to learn how to cook it with fire. You know, all the things along the way that have challenged us to get to this point where we are today. And it feels like we've forgotten that we need to be challenged to transform, to continually transform, and that we need a life of food and sex and this and that just to make us complete, when really what we need to be doing is continually challenging ourselves. And we always had help when we were challenged. We always had our tribe around us. You know, we weren't never doing anything individually. We were always contributing to. And again, that's another state where we're in today, which is like this, it's a me world. It's a me versus you world, so that we can obtain certain things to be seen in a system that's obviously broken because of all of the pain and heartache that's going on, all the divisiveness, rather than the uniting to humanity and trying to make, again, it's not about making the world a better place. It's about being able to overcome all these obstacles and challenges that are presented while we're on this rock, beautiful Mama Earth rock, flying through the universe at 24,000 miles an hour, you know, where things can happen. But how are we going to hold on to each other, you know, during these times, and actually help each other through these processes, rather than running away and hiding in a cave?
And also, I think that there's definitely something, aloneness, that's being permeated. I think that when you talk about the external and, you know, sort of the world that we live in, or as we say in my culture, the dunya, is that all of that interference and interruption, and even, you know, the ghastliness of, you know, the news. I'm not saying things don't need to be reported, but, you know, just like once upon a time, they would always have, you know, some sort of news of like, okay, humanity is good. If we're constantly fed that, you know, any single person has the potential to do this, this, and this, there's no news that is saying, and look what humanity did today, and look what this single person did. Yes, we can find it, and thank goodness that we can use social media and the other outlets that we have to find those things. But in the grander collective, you know, it's even energetic that what is being permeated is that kind of aloneness, you know, a bit of the idea that nobody understands me, nobody gets, you know, nobody gets me. We're all toiling, as we're all going to die, as my mum said, so we've all got that in common. But I feel like I'm always rabbiting on about communities raising children, and, you know, even when I grew up, being in and out of other people's houses, and, you know, having those connections and being able to rely on those people, and having that be, you know, consistent, and having, you know, that trust that even something as simple as the making people singular is like, take Spotify, or yeah, that's right, I called you out, or Netflix, and all these ones where it's like, well, if you're in the family package, this is how much you have to pay, but if you're on your own, this is how much you have to pay. Is that penalization? Like, or you just pointing out the fact that, oh, okay, well, this person's on their own, so they gotta pay a premium. Like, there's all different layers of this. You're on your own, it's just you, which makes people go into their caves, you know. Yeah. And, you know, there's Brene Brown and, you know, many others always talk about this thing of like shame, and I think because it's almost like, oh, you're supposed to be happy, and it's like love and light, and this is all good, and life is great, and da da da. It's like, if you're not part of that, then I better just hide away until, you know, things are better and I feel better, and then I can post pictures of me, you know, in a great position. Me personally, I don't share as much on social media. Only I do it when I feel like it, if I want to share, whatever it is. I have a friend who recently got a diagnosis of breast cancer, and she was umming and ahhing about sharing it, because, you know, on one hand, it's like, do I share? Where am I sharing it from? And I one of the conversations that we had is that, you know, like, you have a community, like, we're here for you, like, whether you share or not online, that's your decision to make. But she's marveled at how much, and she has decided to do that how much the community and the people who are around in our local community are coming around her, as it should be, regardless. We shouldn't have to wait for people to become unwell before, and even myself, this isn't, I'm not wagging my finger, and there's many people I'm still like, I need to call this person, I need to check in on that person. And it is just about making time. It really is just about making time. I'm trying to go through your question, or your inquiry, I should say. This comes again now to your previous inquiry, even about trust and faith, because are we trusting in people? Are we having faith in people? Now, my mum always used to say, she helped relentlessly. I mean, she should definitely have, a plaque in her honor, very saintly spirit, and did everything she could to help people. And I would always, sometimes it would really get on my nerves, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, you're doing all this thing, and this person, they're just taking liberties and blah. And she used to say, no, I'm doing the good because I want to do it, because I can, and because I have it. That's how I am. She said, if that person decides to do good, wonderful. If that person doesn't decide to return the favor or what have you, somebody else is going to be present to give whatever it is that is required. And she always used to say that, and that also falls to you as my children. Whatever good I do in the world, it will be done unto you. So even if I never receive it, even a thank you, it will be how you will be received in the world. And I can always say that, I always say there's no place I've ever been that my mother's prayers have not reached first. And that's because of, and I feel that. So her saying that makes me feel like, yeah, that thing of, doing good, but not expecting it from certain people is so hard. That's a thing to overcome for people, because then you're thinking, oh yes, and it's natural in a sense to be like, oh yes, and because I did that for the person, so naturally the person's gonna like me doing that. And it's like, oh, they don't seem to have the same time, or they're not interested in it, and then resentment grows or builds, or irritation, or these things. And a great book that I'll share with you that I absolutely love, this wonderful author and teacher, Tosha Silver.
Let me write it down.
Tosha Silver. And her book is Change Me Prayers.
Okay.
She has another great book as well. And one of her things is that, for me, I'm comfortable with using the word God, but fill it in with whatever you feel most comfortable with, is that God is my divine source. So even when you talk about the ideas thing, yes, they all come out of the collective consciousness. I've had many an idea, and I've been like, oh, that's my idea. And it's like, oh, how comes they knew? And it's like, because that idea is within the collective consciousness, and you just tuned into it, so other people are too. That thing of ideas, and is that where the ideas come from already isn't necessarily us being a conduit. It's coming through us, and that there are tons. That thing of ownership, of possession, again, that we hold on to that because of fear that this is the only one that I'll have, or this is mine, instead of knowing that, coming back to even what my mum said, well, if God is my divine source, then I have done the good, or whatever it is, or maybe I haven't done anything, but I am willing to receive from the divine source, and it doesn't matter who that comes from. Yeah. The same person that you speak to every day, it's your good pal, and you're like, you have such a great relationship, and you've done all these things and what have you, and then you fall ill, and it's the one person who doesn't come to see you, or isn't there to support you when you get home. But then this other friend who's really cool, and always you've chatted with, etc., came to visit and has been around, and does the shop. Do we then go, which is our natural human response, this one's not doing, and I'm feeling and how comes, and they didn't even come see me at the hospital. Same with grieving, you know, or losing somebody, the people that you expect. There's an expectancy like, oh, these people, you know, this person will be there, I'll be able to rely. Emotionally, they don't, that's not what they're good at. They don't have skills in that area. So they might have been the person who you can enjoy lighter times with, you can have fun with, that you can, you know, have long chats with and good laughs with. But when it comes to that deeper emotional level, they just don't have the skills. So what, am I going to be resentful now and angry with you? This is what my mum meant. You know, then you're blocking it, because then there's 3 people here going, hi, you okay? I want to, and you're going,
oh, I'm so mad at them. Yeah. I'm not, yeah.
We've been there.
Oh, I have. We're running out of time, so I got 5 more minutes left. I'd like to, I'd just like to quickly dive into your work with the youth.
Yeah.
Because it's something that, you know, I know you've done some work with some crews, and I've been to Skills Hub up in Uxbridge, near Uxbridge, and I quickly mentioned to you it was one of my most challenging visits. You know, this group of children who, you know, who'd been referred to those places because of, you know, whatever reasons. And in it all, Hawwa, is that we're seeing a society where there's children who are not getting, I don't want to be I'm mindful of words, a lot of children who are needing a lot of love, who, you know, might not be getting it in other ways. And I'm wondering what your experience is now, kind of where we're getting, I suppose, to the stages where we are in our lives. Like, I have now children involved in my life that I didn't have before. And it is the most challenging part of my life, in that, you know, there are children that I want them to get it. And I want to be able to say, you know, here, these are the answers. But as a child, I remember that isn't how I learned. So I'm interested to know now that your ways of communicating with the youth in a way of like, hey, you've got to do this, or else you're going to be like this, in a way that's like, hey, here, you know, and it's a simple thing that people always say, that children learn by watching and not by being told. Yeah. So what have you been learning over the little while working with some youth?
So where I've been working with Haringey Learning Partnership is that, you know, I always come in easy, but my feeling is always quite clear, in that I just want to see who's here. It's like a birth, you know, we don't know, you know, who's coming. So we'll just see who's in the room and what their needs are. And as a facilitator, one has to always be able to read the room. They need a lot of love. And it's interesting because, again, it's like with all things, we're saying what they need. And one of the things that we need to get more in the habit is asking them what they need. Even if they can't articulate it, that's then our job we can then at least begin to slightly discern. Because some young people do want this, when they want someone who cares. That's part of the issue, is that nobody's asking them, nobody's interested, and it feels like nobody cares. So when somebody is coming through in a certain way and having an expectation, that actually makes them feel like, I'm visible, I'm here, someone can see me, you know, and they actually want to hear me, and I feel like they understand me. So I actually know I'm here because I'm being seen and heard. And that's the first thing for me. I repeated that a few times, but that's one of my first things, is seen, heard, and understood. Basic Maslow, as you know, let's because some of those things aren't being met. So if we can at least have those 3 things, I would say that, again, finding out what it is that they need, then in our capacity, we're able to discern. Being able to say to them, do this instead of do that. I'm still tricky. I grew up with a very traditional African upbringing, so I always have to find the balance between what I know I would have liked to, and how I would have liked to have been received, with some of that too, because there's something really nurturing and strong in that. And I like to convey that in how I already, without speaking or anything else, show them, demonstrate to them physically. I always love to sit in circles, always checking in. How are you? How are you doing today? What is this? What has happened? You know, really being present for them, which I think is another thing, really just actually being present for them and not, you know, even doing other things. Also for ourselves, they don't belong to us. And they're here on their own journeys as well. Be the lantern, be the shoelace tire, be the one that goes, oh, mind that. You know, they might trip over it. Make yourself the bolster so that it can soften maybe their fall. Because when I think about being a teenager, I just wanted to express the things. Again, if I was told things, not so much. But again, another thing I do is I share, you know, I didn't like school, or this was like this, or I remember feeling like this, or this one time, showing our vulnerability even as grown-ups to them and humanizing ourselves, I think is really important, because we are amnesic creatures. I've been saying that. That's my thing. One of my things for this year is that we're amnesic creatures, and I'll say something else that has come through to me is that we forget what it's like to be a teenager. We really do. We really, really do. Even when it's like, why are they shouting on the bus? And it's like, you forget. I used to shout on the bus, right? We was round, we didn't have half of the things that we have now. I have never been to so many funerals. I as a kid, you went to hang out with cousins or somebody else that you know, or you was running around playing and, you know, eating whatever they had at the wake. It wasn't like it is for us now. So we are very amnesic. And the other thing that I would say is that what we have to kind of create a circle of love around them, but also allow them to have their moments, is because I know that whether it is in this country or anywhere else, there were times for a lot of us where what we were shown, what we learned through action was pushing the feelings down, pushing it down, push it down, just get on with it, push, don't talk about that thing, don't talk about that. And so I say now, they've exploded. It's not possible within there for them to hold what we know we've held or what our parents held. So they are a volcano. So all the feelings are out. They're all out in the street and the actions. And that's because their bodies don't have the capacity, it's way too light, to hold that level of density. So, you know, they're wilding in a way, and they're expressing that which we didn't. So I feel like being very, very present, finding out what it is that they feel that they need, guiding light instead of driving force, because part of the expression, even anthropologically for them, is to explore. And so the way I feel that we can nurture or protect them in a way is to just love whoever's showing up. Even when that's like, oh, this is a bit tricky, please don't talk to me like that. So then sometimes it might be a case where I have to be like, listen, got feelings too. You open up this, there's a heart in there. Ooh, it's broken. Don't break my heart. I'm a human being with feelings too. Can we begin again?
Wow.
Yeah. So I feel like just coming from a really real place.
Yeah.
I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. You know, be seen, be heard, be understood. And from my perspective, what I've learned is that, you know, the youth now, I'm not here to teach them anything. I'm just here to be a light. And they're here, I've found they're my biggest teachers now. I'm learning so much from 3 young men that I've learned from, you know, a lot of books that I've read lately and a lot of people that I've spoken to. So there might like, and that for me really made it easier, is that I was like, I used to think that I was here to save them, and actually they're here to teach me. And we've run out of time. Like what?
It's
like
gonna happen.
I could talk to you forever. We're gonna have to arrange a tea.
Yes.
Face soon, okay? Because I'm in Soho. You're up in Haringey, right?
I'm in Hackney.
Hackney.
Yes.
So
But I'm always in town. I'm always in town.
let's do something. Hang on, don't I'm going to say goodbye to everybody now, but don't hang up because I want to ask you one more question. Thanks
Goodbye,
everybody.
everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Hawwa, for joining us. Again, you're just so insightful and a beautiful human being, and I love everything you say. If anybody wants to reach out to Hawwa, I will put her contact details in the feed. Don't forget to join me on Thursday for another Tough Through Tender gathering. I'm also going to start introducing other conversation topics with new Zoom links on the Elephant and Castle page. So pay attention to those. There'll be Tough Through Tender conversations that we'll be holding on Thursdays as well. So stay tuned. And thank you for joining us, Hawwa. We'll see you all later. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day.